All right, we've got a breaking story coming out of the hyper-competitive world of Street Fighter 6. It seems a ghost has appeared at the top of the machine, a mysterious player who has the entire professional scene in Japan on red alert.
So, the question on every single top player's mind is this. Who in the world is Nagoya-kun? This player just appeared, seemingly out of thin air, and started climbing the ladder on what is, let's be real, probably the toughest server on the planet.
And when I say climb, I mean they basically launched themselves into orbit. Nagoya-kun shot up to the #1 spot with an absolutely insane master rate of 23-16. To put that into perspective for you, that's a level of consistency that only the tippy top of the elite ever even sniff.
But this wasn't just about grinding out points against random players. Oh no. This person was systematically running through a hit list of Japan's absolute best pros. We're talking legends, champions, you name it, Nagoya-kun was beating them.
As you can imagine, the fighting game community just exploded with theories. This mystery went viral, and the pros themselves basically turned into digital detectives, all trying to unmask this new phantom menace. Top Japanese pro Ryusei really summed it up perfectly. You just can't be this good and stay a secret for long. The skill level was so ridiculously high, it just had to be someone the community already knew. And so, the hunt was on. So pretty quickly, the community put together a little list of suspects. Theory number 1 pointed to Kokujin, a legendary veteran from the Nagoya area. The name fit, right? Others figured, okay, it's got to be a top pro on a secret account, just hiding their tech. And then there was a third, really interesting idea, the young American prodigy, Blaz.
But the community wasn't just going to sit around and guess. People started digging for actual hard evidence, poring over match replays, looking for any tiny clue that could crack this case wide open. The first big break came from the player's character history. As Ryusei and a bunch of others were quick to notice, Nagoya-kun started with Jamie, then switched to Blanca, and was now just dominating with Sagat. Well, guess what? That character progression was an almost perfect mirror of who Blaz had been playing. The plot thickens.
But the most compelling piece of evidence, the thing that really started to narrow the search, came from this deep dive by another pro, Storm Kubo. And he said, and I quote, he could tell who it was just from the smell of the key display.
Now what on earth is he talking about, right? The smell? Well, in Street Fighter 6, you can watch a replay and see every single button press, every joystick movement a player makes. This key display is basically a digital fingerprint. Every single player has their own unique habits, their own rhythm.
And Storm Kubo's analysis was brilliant. It showed that Nagoya-kun's inputs were incredibly clean. There were none of those messy, extra-directional inputs you often see from arcade stick players. Instead, the pattern screamed gamepad user. This was huge, because it pretty much ruled out their main suspect, Kokujin, who's a well-known stick player.
So the evidence was just piling up. The character choices, the controller type, the off-the-charts skill, it all started to point in one very specific direction. The community was closing in.
Okay, so let's recap. We have a character match, we have a controller match. The profile was almost certain, but they needed one final piece of evidence. You know, the smoking gun that would just blow the whole case wide open.
And you're not going to believe this. While Ryusei was live streaming his own investigation, a viewer in his chat decided to do a little digging on the side. They looked up the account's history on Steam and found the user's ID, and it was Derek Blaz 11.
And that was it. Case closed. The final undeniable proof. The playstyle, the characters, the controller, and now the account name itself. The mystery was finally solved. The dominant, #1 ranked player on the entire Japanese server was
None other than the teenage prodigy from the United States, Blaz. He was in Japan playing under a fake name and absolutely dominating on their home turf.
But wait, this story is so much bigger than just a secret identity. The second he was revealed, a much more important question popped up. Why was one of America's best players secretly grinding it out in Japan?
Well, he was there for a Musha Shugyo, a warrior's pilgrimage. It's this age-old idea where a martial artist travels to a land of masters to face the strongest competition, pushing their skills to the absolute breaking point to get even better.
And the timing of this pilgrimage is just everything. The moment Blaz's main account went dark, Nagoya-kun appeared. And all of this was happening just weeks before the single biggest tournament of the year, the $1 million Capcom Cup X Championship.
So what we've all been watching, this wasn't just some fun online mystery. No, this was a real-life training arc for a potential world champion. Blaz secretly flew across the globe, threw himself into the fire of the fiercest competition he could find, all for one tournament. And it leaves us all with one absolutely thrilling question. Will this warrior's pilgrimage be the secret weapon he needs to conquer the world? We are about to find out.